Hello, universe. Welcome to Off the Rails with Tom and Mark.
Well, hey, it's an Off the Rails, not with Tom and Mark, but with Brendan and Mark today. Tom is on assignment out in the world, and hey, we're here today, Saturday. What is it, the 11th?
And Tom would say, season 2, episode 9?
Season 2, episode 9.
Go.
Slowly getting to that, and Mark already helping me out, making this way easier than it should be. This is a new start to a new year here in beautiful downtown Grafton, Wisconsin.
Oh, I say the beautiful Grafton part.
Oh,
do you really? I didn't even know you said that.
I usually say, and we are coming to you from the Coldwell Banker Home Sale Realty Studio here in Grafton.
I didn't even know that was an official part of the introduction.
That's just how I've been doing it.
No.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that. It's organic and it's floating in the ether here.
Tom,
in the room.
I know everything Tom's going to say, and then I fill in all the gaps. You don't know what Tom says.
I know nothing.
So,
that's the best part. I literally know nothing, and I'm occupying.
And usually I'm the I know nothing guy.
Yeah, that's true. I will. Yeah, and I love you for it. I love that you just come. And you settle into the love seat that is just it's screaming out for somebody to join you in the love seat. So we have if you're an audience member and you ever would like to come in and see a live production, there's literally a beautiful little spot in the chair with Mark to nestle in, and he will hold you. You can like snuggle into his armpit a little bit and watch the show right from right there, and you can see the whole behind the scenes thing. We don't have bleachers or anything behind the camera. We just have Mark on a love seat.
We have a couch in the corner.
We do have a couch in the corner.
And an office chair with a laptop on it.
A lot of weird things that happen on that couch in the corner. But we're here, and it's a lovely day here in Wisconsin. We have 12 inches of snow threatening. We have a glistening of ice everywhere.
But we're here,
and we're in a beautiful studio, and we're inside. And you should be in your house listening to this, and you should be wasting your time on Facebook watching us. And thanks for coming in today. So, hey, before we really get rolling, how about a word from our sponsor, huh?
That sounds great.
All right.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Now you have to press the other button.
just sitting back like,
Which is
all
what?
right, I'm
The
done.
Coldwell button.
Hi, I'm Jenny Shulka, Director of Human Resources at a family-owned and international company, Coldwell Banker Home Sale Realty. With 3 offices in southeastern Wisconsin and some of the top agents in the industry, we are here to serve you in all of your real estate needs, whether you are buying or selling. If you are interested in a career in real estate, we offer an in-depth training program to make you successful. Call us at 414-443-2030 or email roy@cbhsr.com.
Don't worry, our listeners have come to expect a certain degree of professionalism.
And that degree
Is
very
zero.
rarely exceeds 70% on any measurable scale. So we're in good shape. Hey, I don't know. There's that little moment of misunderstanding. I thought we did like the whole.
We had a pre-show powwow about how we're going to do the
I
ads.
thought when we said a word from our sponsor meant the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's not
And then I see
just the
Brendan
bumper.
just sit back all proud of
Yeah.
himself.
Well, I
Like,
found it, and
smash that button.
So it's weird. It's weird because, normally you'd want to cut away from the person who's pushing buttons and not paying attention and look and being part, whatever. They're doing a different, anyway, whatever.
Well, Molly can't do everything.
No, this is amazing. and that, no, I get it. Anyway, Coldwell Banker, love you guys. Roy and the team are just amazing. They have been such a great supporter of this show for the entirety of the show, and seemingly want so little in return. They're just awesome. But if any member of the team looks to buy a home, we know where we have to go. There's no equivocating at all. It's
Molly, how's the house?
It's awesome.
A couple of weeks
Love
ago,
it.
you had a plumbing issue. Has that been resolved?
Yes.
Okay. I think Tom just overflowed a toilet. So I got a call because
How do you shut it off? How do you shut
Susan,
it off? Help.
my wife, works with Molly, so they were at work.
Yeah.
And then I got this call from my wife that Tom needed help with plumbing at the house.
'Cause she didn't
So
want me
I
to leave
picture the
office.
basement is flooding like something out of Home Alone.
Yeah.
So I get all my wrenches and
Yeah.
my daughter, my 2-year-old, and we all go over there. I got her boots on
You
and
brought the
everything.
supervisor and everything.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
we get there and it's no, he just clogged the toilet.
Telling tales out of school here.
Yeah, way to go.
It's
It's a fun
Ratting
story.
Tom out when he's not here.
It's a fun story.
but that's awesome, and you know, it's such a normal thing. I moonlight as a property manager type
Mhm.
person right now, and we had this pair of tenants. Dudes moved out, and they bought a house. Not they, the one guy bought the house. The other guy is renting
Mhm.
from that guy in the new duplex. But they still call me for every little problem. They have it like, dude, I am not your property man. I don't know if you know this, but you bought that house. You're not renting from me anymore. And it's not even, I mean, it's not rare. It's like, the water heater in the basement is leaking out the bottom. What do I do? Shut the water off.
Google it.
And well, right. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm not, you know, do it yourself from
Mhm.
Reader's Digest, that big, thick yellow book you
That's a
used to have in
great
your
book.
house.
Everyone should have it.
It is the greatest book in the world. I used to go to like rummage sales and Goodwills, and I would buy every one I could find.
Mhm.
And when I would go to somebody's house for a kitchen and bath remodeling consultation, I'd pull that thing out. That's the first thing I'd show them and go, "Do you have one of these?"
Mhm.
And they're like, "No, this is yours." It was the greatest gift to be able to give every new homeowner that was, you know, threatening to do a kitchen remodeling project or something 6 months after they bought the house, not knowing the financials of refis and everything. Anyway,
Last week we had a story about people Google everything. People don't
Yes.
know how to fix anything around the house.
yeah.
And it's like the Google is what that book used to be.
And I thought the number would be higher, but it's like 40%. It was like 2 out of 5 cannot do anything in their home without going to Google.
Yeah.
And I was surprised it was only 40% because in my experience, it's 90%.
Well,
None of them know what they're doing.
Once you
probably
break that
higher now.
barrier and start doing things, it cascades and you become handy.
That's what it is.
You
You've
just
got
gotta-
to
you
you got to
just
take
gotta-
that first step.
Yeah.
And the fact that at Home Depot, the kits for home tools, it used to just, you know, if you wanted to buy if you weren't serious about fixing things, you had to go buy real tools.
Yeah.
And then they had that one little thing with the orange-handled hammer
Yeah.
and the orange-handled screwdrivers.
And some pliers.
Yeah, and it's like 8 little tools that, you know, maybe weighed 1.5 pounds or whatever. Maybe you could turn.
For your college student.
Yeah, right, exactly. just for the apartment dweller. Now they've got pink full-on tool kits and everything, just because they still need to be catered to.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to have a little, you know, cutesy kind of
Well, there is the pink tax. Are you familiar with that?
the pink tax.
Anything pink will cost more
Mm,
than
yeah,
anything
yeah.
not pink because women will pay it.
Sure,
That's
and
all it is. Women, you just pay it.
and it's the same thing with the NFL's pink clothing.
Yeah.
It was like somebody actually found out how much of the revenue from that was going to breast cancer research.
Oh, all that stuff.
And it was like 1.97% of every jerseys because they jacked up the price of those pink jerseys by like 25%, and then took 1.97% and gave it to breast cancer research.
I'm
And it's
so
just like,
bitter about
that's so
breast
great.
cancer awareness, and I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
Because awareness just means, oh, you see the pink.
Yeah,
That's the
I'm
whole
aware.
point.
Yeah.
The money.
Well-
Thank you. I'll take the money now. You saw the pink.
Show me some football player that's not aware of breasts. I mean, just show me
Yeah.
that guy. Okay, maybe
But
there's that one guy.
If you want to change the world, give money to breast cancer research,
Research.
treatment.
Let's not do
awareness.
with awareness. Yeah.
is just a cash in. It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
cash grab. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it's somebody who found the right term. It's like it's a marketer who figured out the right word. How do we keep most of this money? Oh, let's chalk it up to awareness. Well, we did what we were supposed to do. We put it out there. We
You can't
put it
not
on
see
the-
pink
yeah,
now.
right. It's everywhere. So, yeah. Oh, there we go. So we've already turned a corner into sadness. Let's go deeper into the sadness.
No.
Just we got to get it out of the way early, and then we can move on to porn and things like that. But a very big influence on my life as a drummer.
Wow.
I am presently a drummer again against my will, but I am a drummer again. But one of those great influences on my life as a drummer as a kid, as a 12-year-old in a basement in Merrill, Wisconsin in 1977 was the band Rush, and Neil Peart, the drummer of Rush, tragically passed away from complications with brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
And, at the pretty early age of 67, and he's just one of those prolific human beings. He wrote most of the lyrics after the first album for Rush going forward, and really they as a band produced more sound as three guys than bands that have 12 people. They were so amazing in their construction and their musicianship. It's just one of those things that really kind of struck. But the poor man was just a magnet for tragedy. In 97, his daughter died. And then in 98, his first wife died of cancer. The daughter died in an accident. And then he basically took 5 years off of the band. But those first 2 years, he spent traveling from Canada all the way to the Andes, to the tip of Peru, on a BMW motorcycle, just traveling the world, or at least our little hemisphere, and trying to get his brain back on track, and then went back, and they produced some of the best music they've ever produced after he came back. And so Neil Peart, dead at 67, and a true loss for Canada and for the world and for rock fans everywhere, because between him and as noted members of bands, like there's some amazing drummers out there, which I don't know how many people are in the drum culture in the audience, but like guys like Mark Mangini from a band called Dream Theater. I didn't even know Dream Theater existed, but I knew him as a drummer before he became a member of Dream Theater. But or Mike Mangini, I mean, but he I looked right at Mark when I said that, and but frontmen, drummers, like guys that are big enough to be known as drummers. Drummers are generally in the background. Nobody knows who they are. Phil Collins is the other Mickey Dolenz from the seminal 60s band, the Monkees, one of my favorite bands of all time. They're actually a bunch of pretty decent musicians. And we were all fortunate enough to have decent musicians, not just actors playing actors who played musicians. And so they were all pretty good. But, and he was actually, he's the one that kind of drove and kept the Monkees going. But like Phil Collins is another guy who we're losing Phil Collins. And thank goodness Phil left the drum kit when he did, because some of the same things that were starting to affect Phil had already really taken Neil from us. Neil had terrible arthritis at the end. After the R40 tour, he had to stop because he just couldn't swing the sticks as hard, and he doesn't know any other way to drum. So you all know the Phil Collins song,
yeah, In the Air Tonight.
That's how you test speakers, is you get to that part in the song, and if the low end can't handle that little run, well, it's the same thing in so many Rush songs where the drums aren't just holding a beat. The drums were part of the orchestration. And that's really what we lose in this. And
so what's the best Rush song for the drums?
How do you not do Tom Sawyer? That's just, it's just the minute you say those words, you can hear it. It's that. Anybody who's a drummer, who's like a professional drummer, you learn those drum parts before anything else, because if you can learn those, if you can do that entire 7-minute and 28-second song, you know everything. Everything you can learn in drumming is in that song. And once you know that song, back to front to back, you're done. So.
We have a comment. We've got Jason Evans saying, in honor of Rush, I will dress in nothing but my kimono for 5 days.
There's very few prog rock bands who, and I don't know here's the best thing you can do this weekend. The weather's terrible. It's going to snow more tonight. Lock yourself in the house with Netflix and watch the Rush documentary on Netflix this weekend in honor of Neil Peart. I didn't understand. I'm a kid. I haven't revisited like news about Rush in years. So and this is that weird precursory thing. I only watched that full documentary. I've had it in my list for over a couple of years now. I watched it about 3 weeks ago because I've watched so many other little clip YouTube interviews of Rush. That it was like, oh, do I really want to sit down and watch an hour and 48 minutes of Rush in this documentary, which is a few years old. It's like 2015. So it's like, there's new information since. Is this going to be worth it? It's so well done. It's so complete. And it tells the story of where the kimonos came from. They were in Japan, and they were like in what amounts to a secondhand store. And there were a whole bunch of kimonos, and they had no identity. And Getty was just like, well, maybe this will be our identity. So he bought a whole bunch of kimonos, and they all picked out their favorite kimono. And God dang, they were some good-looking men in kimonos, man. They were pretty hot. That Alex Lifeson, that really filled out his boobs, and it was pretty nice. So so do yourself a favor, watch the Rush documentary on Netflix, and remember Neil Peart for the influential. Seriously, I don't know a single drummer who doesn't list him as one of their influences. Certainly there's people who would say there's better technical drummers. I don't know if you'd even say technical drummers, but I don't know. I really have a hard time coming up with a better drummer just because the guy did everything. And halfway through his career, 20 years in, changed his stick style and worked with some of the, just this crazy old coot of a drummer from New York. And relearned the traditional hand style, and ultimately didn't stick with it in terms of didn't continue to play that way, but only because his set is so complex that you really couldn't reach this drum out here. I mean, your shoulder joint stops you from hitting it backwards like that with the underhanded stick. So he had to go back to the overhand stick style. But so anyway, so there we go. Now that's sad stories out of the way.
All right.
And now we can move on to the teenagers who took over. What is it? I don't even remember. But anyway, lots of porn out there, everybody. And it's just, there's porn everywhere is apparently what's going on, right? There's just, I mean, people aren't watching network television anymore because there's so much sex.
That's not the best segue. You just... Neil Peart, porn.
Both starts with a P. I could work on alliteration. We could talk about paparazzis next.
Smooth.
I was reading something about how there's so much just implied sex on network TV as network TV tries to compete with Netflix and HBO and all that.
Every show seems to has boobs in it, much like Game of Thrones popularized the gratuitous nude scene for no purpose.
So you remember the famous scene on NYPD Blue?
Never watched NYPD Blue.
I didn't either.
Okay.
I don't watch almost anything, but it's that weird, culture vulture kind of thing. You hear about stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember any reference to Dennis Franz's ass?
Nope.
No. Oh my gosh, we've stumped Mark today on the pop culture references.
It's not that hard to do, folks.
Right? Yeah. Movie stuff, you've got me way beat, so we're good there. But Dennis Franz, of course, had he was this portly, mustachioed, thinning-haired detective who they decided, hey, let's shake up the world of late night,
of late night procedural crime drama.
Yeah, it's not even. I wanted to back away from late night because it was like prime time, like late prime time crime drama of having the portly, unsexy guy. It changed his career. It made him a popular culture sex object, and because they showed his ass in a sex scene. And that was as much as they could get away with because literally the way the executives described it to the standards and practices people was, well, it's really just where the legs end. So if you're looking at a leg and then you're looking at a butt, you're just looking at the top of the legs.
If you're ankle to ankle, you're not really sure where the, butt when you see it, but that could be butt. It could be butt.
Exactly.
No, that's the butt.
Yeah. So there's this weird little kind of, they worked it past in some fashion. And so that was I feel like that's when the dam broke when I think Dennis Franz's ass.
Have you seen the movies that made us on Netflix?
I have not watched any of those.
They did one on Die Hard, and they talk about how Bruce Willis was kind of a schlubby guy, and he was like laughed off of the camera because he was known for comedy beforehand, and now he's action hero man. And I grew up watching Die Hard, so to me, Like Bruce Willis is the epitome of manly man, hero man coming to save the day, but that was such a hard sell back then because they viewed him as a schlub back then.
Yeah, I mean, so he had been on that TV show Moonlighting
Yeah.
with Sybil Shepherd.
But he wasn't like Schwarzenegger. In
No, right.
Predator.
He wasn't ripped or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, Ricky Gervais just hit that joke during the Golden Globes the other night where he said, "Do we have a category for the most ripped junkie?" and because that's what actors are today.
Yeah.
They're not. They're wearing
caricatures.
skin tight clothes, dancing in front of a green screen, and then somebody else fills out whatever the drama is somewhere else. When did becoming an actor require going to the gym twice a day and shooting up steroids? That was the line. And yeah, when Scorsese had the balls to come out and say, I think it's like going to an amusement park, watching these Marvel movies and everything. I know you like some of the movies.
I enjoy the Marvel movies, but he's saying they're not art, right? They're not cinema is the phrase he used.
Correct. And I can't tell you how much I agree with that.
They're pop culture entertainment.
Well, yeah, here's what to me they are. They're infantilization. They're the reason 40% of people need Google to fix a light bulb in their house. It's this perpetuation. Nobody wants to grow up. Some guy I went out to lunch with yesterday said because he had a dentist appointment and a revisit, he had laser eye surgery recently, because he was going to the dentist and to an optometrist in the same day, he was adulting. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not adulting. That's life, man. Why does it need a name? Why does it need an appellation like that?
That is called maintenance.
You want to talk about adulting and 2 doctor's appointments in the same day, and it just brought up the fact that I just witnessed Mark's wife make the first doctor's appointment that he's had in probably how many years?
College.
For him.
15, 20 years.
She called around, found a doctor for him, and made a doctor's appointment for him, and then called him and said, "You're going here this day. You're going to the doctor."
And here's the weird thing.
Happy wife, happy life. I said, sure, let's do
right?
this.
And sorry, you can call me misogynistic. You can call me sexist, whatever. That's the way it used to be. I was an 8-year-old
Women
lad.
would manage men's lives.
Yes. Your wife bought your clothes because she didn't want you looking like an idiot. You leave it to us. We show up in Nike sweatshirts and black shoes and blue jeans with white socks. That's what happens. Fix your husband. I'm just kidding. He's beautiful.
Aw.
They took care of the man because the man was incapable of taking care of
He's a
himself.
big dumb gorilla.
Correct. But he was the big dumb gorilla that went and did big dumb gorilla things.
Brought back bread to eat.
And came home with raw meat to cook and couldn't prepare. Disseminate to the little children the future.
Well, those days are gone, sir.
That's gone. And so why didn't you make your own doctor's appointment? Why have you not gone to the doctor?
Well, I didn't have insurance for the longest time.
Okay.
So
And that's a new thing?
No, I had insurance through my parents through college, and then this was before Obamacare. I was buying private solo insurance for a while, but then after Obamacare, my private insurance increased 6-fold.
Yeah.
So I had to drop it because I just can't afford
Sure.
that.
But now you have insurance again.
Now that I'm married, I'm on my wife's insurance and her job.
And how long have you had this insurance?
Years.
And
5 years.
And so that's my question.
5 years.
That was a very circuitous way to not answer my question.
Because
I wanted to know how long you've presently had insurance.
5 years.
So you've had 5 years of insurance. Why now?
He's healthy as a horse.
I'm a healthy-ish person. I wouldn't say I'm super healthy, but I take care of myself.
Yeah.
I exercise a little. I try to eat right.
Okay. And were those little kernels of factoid the thing keeping you from going to the doctor, or what kept you from going to the doctor? Because
laziness.
Just laziness. Really?
Not wanting to have to go
no
through
fear
the
of the
process
doctor.
of finding a doctor.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The logistics of that.
Finding a doctor sucks.
It's so here's as I understand it in today's world, the most difficult part of finding the doctor is turning the computer on and going to the place that's approved by your health insurance and looking at 5 profiles of doctors and going, oh, yeah, I went to that school. I'll go to that guy.
But that doesn't tell you what they're like.
There's one more thing,
Of course
too.
not.
Susan probably changed jobs 4 times in those 5 years, so our insurance changed 4 times.
So somebody comes home
It
and goes,
sounds like an
"Hey,
excuse.
I got a new job.
Susan gets
Here's our new insurance card. Here you go, honey. You can call that day and get a checkup." And so I haven't had insurance for a very long time.
Yeah, when was your last doctor visit, sir?
My last doctor visit. So I suffer allergies terribly. I'm allergic to just about everything. I take between 3 and 5 24-hour Allegra a day to stay alive.
Sure. I got seasonal allergies. It can be a terrible.
Yeah.
terrible
Now
time.
take your seasonal allergies 365 since you were 13 years old till today.
I cleaned my pockets out before we came, but usually these are stuffed with tissues.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
So-
I just have to. So in my car right now, there's a bottle of Allegra there. There's a bottle of Allegra in my camera bag. There's a bottle of Allegra in my computer bag. There's a bottle of Allegra in every suitcase, depending on whether I'm going to be on the
Sounds
road
like
for
you have an
a
addiction
weekend.
problem, sir.
Right? Yeah. I wish it was. I wish it was habit forming, because then I could at least get some government help. And I can't. But that's what I take to stay alive. And the day I found out I didn't have health insurance was the day last time I went to my allergist back in 2011, which thankfully 4 months later, Allegra went OTC, went over the counter.
Oh, nice.
So it had been a prescription only drug. And my allergist, there's got to be, I don't know, what's the statute of limitations on giving someone too many prescription drugs in sample form to get them a distance?
The
I don't
number
know.
I always hear is 7 years for statutes of limitations.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's different.
Yeah, it might be different for drugs. But maybe now that it's over the
yeah.
counter, it doesn't matter, because it was always safe. But my allergist gave me enough to get me to the release date of the over the counter situation,
Mm-hmm.
because I've gone to this allergist at this point for 15 years. So when I come in, they just send me right back to a room. They don't, there's no processing. There's no check. It's just, "Oh, hi, Brendan." Go. And so I'm sitting back there.
Is this a doctor's office or a dark alley somewhere?
This is an allergist. This is a very large allergy practice. It's the largest allergy practice in the state of Wisconsin. I
Does
didn't
your
know that at the
allergist
time.
talk like Tommy Chong?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, man. So, I'm in the room. My allergist comes in, and we've known each other for a decade plus now, and so we're just literally just shooting the shit, just talking. People complain about how they never get a time with their doctor, and he just kind of rolls in. "So, how's the golf game?" Blah blah. We're just talking, and the nurse sticks her head in the room, or one of the administrators sticks her head in the room, and goes, we're starting to process. Brendan, do you have a new insurance card?" I'm like, "No." I'm separated at this point. I'm not divorced yet.
Okay. You're not legally divorced.
So the first thing my ex-wife did was take me off the insurance. Now, here's the cool thing. There's no savings for me not to be on the insurance.
Yeah.
It's one of those insurance policies where she works in a hospital system, so she's free.
Mhm.
She's included
It's
in her
in-house,
pay package,
yeah.
right? But if you have a dependent, it's X amount of money more.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 5 dependents, it's the same X amount of money. It's not X times 5.
Sure.
It's just
First 5 people, this price.
blood relative, unlimited. We'll just cover everybody past you. It's $286 comes out of your paycheck to cover you, your spouse, and everyone else. But you're free. First thing she did was take me off the insurance, and I find this out. So now I've got to pay for a specialist office visit. I've got to pay for
This 2-hour conversation you decided.
the shooting the shit conversation. It's the most expensive discussion of my horrible golf game I've ever had. And then he's like, "Oh, well, I guess this isn't going to be covered." And at that time, Allegra
goodbye.
was really expensive.
Mhm.
So he just literally raided the samples closet.
Yeah, I remember a day when docs would just give you, "Here's 50 samples of this drug. Just take one of these every day." They wouldn't even send you to the
They would have me
pharmacist.
try different allergy meds.
Guinea pig types.
Yeah, because I was having no changes or anything,
Mhm.
and they were trying to find things that I would use less than the 5 times a day Allegra stuff. So they were always sending every 3 months or 6 months, depending on how I was doing, whatever. They always send me something out to try, and so it'd be the brown paper bags so that you can walk through the professional office building with nobody thinking. Yeah, I just went to I just came from one of the office suites upstairs, and they packed me a tuna sandwich. That's really what I'm carrying here, right? So normally it's like 7 of those blister packets, 2 weeks or whatever.
But, I mean, that's probably hypocritical stuff. They can't let people see what your
it's HIPAA for sure.
Yeah.
But it's little things in the bottom of this smallish bag that looks like the popcorn you get at the the co-op at the Cenex to keep you coming in and buying your gas there. And this thing is literally, he's packed this so full that the stuff is like sticking out of the top, and I'm carrying, and it's like the next size bag up and everything.
Grocery bag size?
Yeah, I have 4 months of 5 times a day of this drug as I'm walking out, and like I come out into the waiting area, and
I scored.
Yeah, it's a big waiting area. People are like, how come I can't get that? You come here for 15 years, and I bought this guy a freaking cottage on a lake somewhere. That's right. So anyway, yeah, that's the life.
So the story about the billboard, do we want to talk about that at all? Do you think that was
the porn?
interesting?
The porn story
that you like brushed over, and we're like, there's this thing that happened, and then.
So where was this? Michigan.
It is in Michigan. I ruefully did not read the story.
So there's an electronic billboard, and there's little. Molly told me about it. I skimmed the article. There's a little shack beneath it, right, Molly?
Yes. And
you said the locks were broken by the owners for some reason previously?
Well, so normally billboards are managed remotely.
Yes, correct.
And they've got a remote server that has everything that they just.
It's not like lighthouses. There isn't like a billboard attendant that lives in that tube.
Yeah. Right.
And
but this particular one had a shed directly underneath the billboard.
Okay.
And that's where everything was housed to control the billboard.
Just a dangling HDMI cable, I imagine.
And apparently,
oh my God!
Apparently, the locks had frozen, so the people that maintained it had to break the locks to get in it and didn't replace them.
Because who's coming out here?
Who's ever going to?
Yeah, who's going to think?
Who's going to know that?
Who's going to think this huge digital billboard is controlled in a shed?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Who's gonna know?
Plausible.
Apparently, 2 teenage boys, like 16 and 17-year-old boys, break into the shed, and they uploaded porn.
I was more curious as to what
system.
porn they put on there, but the story didn't say.
It didn't really say, but so they had
shoddy reporting. That's just shoddy.
On this billboard on the interstate, just porn playing on it. And,
that is awesome.
However long until they shut it down.
So. So each one of those billboards, the digital signs that sit over the top of the freeway to tell you about things, they're some ridiculous number, $12.5 million to put them up and maintain them for a year or whatever. Yeah. And I would have appreciated that playing some porn today, because that would have been just as effective as the lack of any announcement that I-43 was closed for an accident at Good Hope Road.
With this weather, a billboard playing porn would have had people piled up. People would have been like...
The roads would have melted. It would have been warmer. People would have been hot. So hot.
If I were those kids and I would have discovered it, I would have had some fun. I would have developed some sort of fake ads that would have been hilarious to put up there.
They probably didn't have time. I mean,
I would think, okay,
videos
we know we can get back in here. Let's come back next week.
Yeah, but there was surveillance. There was video.
Okay.
Was there
They've got video of them breaking in.
So it's a smash and grab.
Wow. All the things you'd think you'd need to feel confident about not replacing a lock were in place.
Yeah.
And they still managed to...
So since this happened, they've switched it over to remote.
Right?
A remote server. Why?
Suddenly
I've
digging
never
a
seen
trench.
a shed under a billboard controlling it.
And just the logistics of that. So you have the local cheese shop down the road, and you want to put the digital billboard, next exit, come to our cheese shop. Mm-hmm. And you strike a deal with the ad sales rep. That guy's got to go into a little shed and
upload, click.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. I mean,
so if you ever see a random shed underneath the billboard,
yeah. Time to get your glass cutter and your little can of spray paint to cover up the cameras. Do the Mike Ehrman trout, the Mylar balloons that go up in front of the camera. Yeah. There you go. Well, that's lovely. I think if you guys are looking for a hobby, that's definitely the thing to do. Is break into a charter communication shed and start putting porn up on the highway, because that's what the highway needs. So yeah, we were dancing around the idea before of whether we were going to talk about the draft.
Well, there was the draft scare, which I think is what Tom was hoping we would talk about. But then we just started talking about the draft in general.
Well, there was this crazy scam, like that people were texting you saying that you needed to, and who would even believe a text message draft?
Well, the president did send you a text message saying that there were incoming missiles from North Korea about 3 years ago. So that early warning system thing works. So yeah, I mean, if you felt suddenly like it's time to sign up a bunch of boys for our flagging military, it's selective service is still in place.
Yep.
You turn 18.
I had to register when I was
still
in
have
high
to
school,
register. It's still completely sexist. It's only males.
But that's how it should be, in my opinion.
Okay.
Women are perfectly capable of combat, and there are women in combat now, and that's great.
There are.
But for
I have one of those.
population statistics,
Yeah.
let's say World War III goes really, really poorly, the population will bounce
How
back.
good do you think it possibly could go?
If,
I think it's pretty poor.
if it's like World War I
So-
and we've got like ridiculous casualties,
Mhm.
the population of the United States or any country would bounce back much faster if only the males were sacrificed and not the females. Whereas if you sacrifice equally randomly,
Yeah.
it'll take the population much longer to rebound in just pure statistics and population growth. So that's the only reason why I say women should be spared from it.
So, how do you feel about the and wow, I don't know if I can even go.
Or we
here.
could only send women. No, I think because women have all the eggs and they make the babies, they
Right.
need to be the ones
Well,
for population rebounding.
Sure. So, but then how do you not just engender if you're going to go that far, then you've got to look at all the guys in selective service and go, and this is bordering on the final solution, but you've got to find the best gene pool. So part of the draft could be, yes, you're infantry. Yes, you're Marines. You're a pilot. You're a impregnator.
From what
You've got to find the guys.
It
because-
was more or less random.
But so I want to take the steps back,
okay,
further back. How did we start talking about? Because that's the thing right now on the Reddit is the memes of the Third World War III, right?
thank God we.
How did we
survived
get
it.
here off of a drone strike at an airport in Baghdad? How does that become the catalyst for it's World War III? Oh my God!
Because the internet exists.
Yeah.
And
Because
people,
I'm back to my
Scared.
40% of people who need everything they need to know off of Google.
Yep.
It's going to a comedy show and hearing a word and freaking out, standing up, interrupting the show because you're offended, triggered by a word. We have a segment of the population that unfortunately is gigantic, that takes any tiny little thing and blows it up to such an anxiety-inducing, hey, you don't have depression, you don't have anxiety. You allow yourself to let your thoughts run ridiculously wild. There's nothing about this other than that, the next day, the Kiev jet, the Ukrainian jetliner
Got shot down.
gets
by
shot
accident.
down. What?
Oopsies.
No,
my
no,
bad.
no. Exploded. We have to
No,
trust. We have to trust the Iranians
They
here.
admitted it.
They admitted it?
yesterday. Yeah, yesterday they admitted that they shot it down. It was an accident in their totes. Sorry.
See, I'm out having lunch with a guy who's
Sorry.
adulting, and I miss I miss that they admitted to it because they were still denying it
Well, they
as
were,
of Friday morning.
yeah, they were refusing to give up the black box, which
Yeah.
was the dead giveaway that something was up here.
Yeah. And they gave up the black box.
They admitted they shot it down by accident.
Oh yeah.
And
From their anti-missile system.
Yeah.
Which is just seeing something
were-
go airborne,
They
right?
were probably hair trigger, razor's edge,
Yeah.
thinking World War III.
Who provided their system? The Russians.
Probably the Russians.
It is it's a Russian system. State Department or Pentagon had identified by the signature what the blip was, what type of device it was, what type of anti-missile system it was.
Mhm.
What have the Russians said about this? They've shrugged. They went, yeah, we sold it to them 22 years ago.
It's old stuff.
So where's World War III? Where's our launch of missiles towards the
luckily cooler heads prevailed.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if anybody's aware, but since 2003, there's been a little kerfuffle going on over there in the Middle East. There's been about, $4 trillion spent on a war that has not yielded World War III?
There's been a kerfuffle in the Middle East since World War I.
There's been, yes, right. Since
100
the
years.
1300s, let's be honest. So, how does this happen? How did we get to it's World War III? Why are we talking about a draft and about here's why I think there's something else going on right now that they don't want us to see. They don't want us to talk about.
We're not supposed to talk about politics. There's an election coming up.
Yes.
I think it probably has more to do with that.
No politics, no impeachment. That's not been on the front page for the last 4 days now because we're talking about World War III. So who's really behind us talking about World War III?
Well, I saw an article, hate to get political here, but saying during the Clinton impeachment, he also bombed Iran right in the middle of
sir.
it. So it's like, is this the go-to thing for the presidential playbook? It's when you're being impeached, bomb someone, bomb Iran.
As soon as I saw the first headline, I went, oh, this is how we get impeachment off the front page. And that's just it. So anyway, so kids out there, hey, don't worry. They're not coming for you.
And to go back to the draft, it's not a great idea. It should be a last resort scenario. So we probably will never draft people ever again. But I think we still need the infrastructure there in case World War III goes terribly, and we need people.
Well, I've been kind of on I've been watching the videos of the former Titan and Atlas missile silos and the Minuteman missile silo thing.
Sure.
I've just been. It's one of those things. I watched those videos first when YouTube came out, and so it's
just
like
watching
10, 12 years ago.
Penises fly out of the ground and smash into the ground.
Well, it's more the tours of the decommissioned ones now, right? So I'm looking at Rusty.
You ever been to one?
No, I have not, and
I've been to one.
I didn't know. I was so close to the one out in
Arizona. Is it?
No, it's in North Dakota.
Okay.
It's Coopersville or something like that. I was literally within 25 minutes of it and didn't know. And that really bothered me that I was that close and could have just jaunted over. But so which one did you
wants to book a comedian?
Which one did you go to?
Well, it was a road trip to New Mexico and Arizona, so I'm not sure because the whole thing turned into a blur. Sure. I'm not sure where exactly it was, but we drove to the atomic testing sites.
So that's a different animal.
And along the way, we saw this missile silo museum, so we also toured that.
Okay, yeah, I think that one's in Arizona. It's outside of Chandler, but it's an engineering marvel the way they built these things, and
they can also survive an explosion in theory.
What you think of as rebar when you drive past the construction on the freeway and you see those green grids of rebar that's being laid down so the concrete can flow through it and remain intact. The rebar that they use is literally like bigger than your forearm. And it's not so much laid out in a grid in that they're literally packed with like 5 millimeters between each radius point where the tangent points, and then concrete is just flowed in. It's 9 feet thick of 3-inch diameter metal bars
and concrete,
and then filled with concrete, and then backfilled with concrete, because that protects you from both radiation and from the shock blasts. And that was mind-boggling. 16-ton doors that you can push with your hands still to this day. Astounding engineering in these things. But you see there's 72 of those bases. Each base controls between 50 and 150 missiles that each have 3 warheads on them. The level to which we had surpassed the rest of the world's arsenal.
The Cold War was an interesting thing.
So World War III will not require a draft because there will be nothing left.
Yes.
If you have first launch and then retaliation launch, it's over. If you have first launch, there's a possibility the country that did the launch will not be eliminated. But if you have first launch and then you have retaliation launch, the world is over. And if you didn't die in the explosions, the nuclear winter that's going to follow is going to take you out. You're not going to survive that. So don't worry, kids. There's nothing to worry about. There will be no draft if there's World War III. There's nothing to worry about except death.
Iraq and Afghanistan is that we need a military of highly motivated individuals who want to be there. Half the reason Vietnam was a clusterfuck because we draft people who didn't want to be there.
Exactly.
So they phoned it in, and that's why a lot of terrible things happened because no one wanted to be there.
Sure. And how do you put up with the idea of having to kill people?
Yeah,
you start becoming a drug user.
Yeah,
you become,
to cope with the things that you don't want to do. Yeah, so it's a terrible idea.
And you're sending kids to the poppy fields of the world. I mean, you're sending them right into
it should be a last resort. Yeah, and that hopefully will never. Realistically, I don't think we'll ever actually draft.
Can't have it
again.
Yeah, can't have it.
But it needs to. We need to have that card in the deck.
So there we go. There we go. I thought this backyard gas station story was going to be in. No, of course not. Was going to be in. In Mexico, in Kabul.
Las Vegas.
It's in Vegas. There's an illegal backyard gas station where people are filling up
so behind some bushes, there's a giant tank, like a farmer would have like a giant tank for his liquids.
Irrigation or whatever, for fertilizer, filled with gasoline.
A nozzle that gets out to the street.
So do they talk about how they got the gas in there? Are they siphoning it off?
They said it's like a credit card scan. They'll get someone's credit card.
They'll fill up their car, drive home,
okay.
Siphon it out.
It's literally, it's down to just there's still a guy.
Or they're filling up. I figured they might have been just filling up gas cans.
No,
just go to the gas station and
you could do that too, but you could probably. I mean, you could fit 16 gallons, 12 gallons in your average car.
But how many trips do you got to make then to fill up? A thing in your backyard.
You don't want to draw attention to yourself.
Sell gas out of it, and that's how you make the money.
Well, so there's all these unemployed crack dealers and marijuana dealers now because of retail marijuana sales in Vegas. So there's all these 14-year-old kids that normally sold pot at the junior high. Now they can drive the car because they still want to be in some illegal shit. They don't want to be doing a legitimate job. So they're 14. They're driving without a license, probably in a stolen car. So the thrill factor is still there. But all you do is take and swipe you've got the pre-coded card, and you put 21 gallons in the Cadillac Escalade that you stole from the mall.
It just seems like a lot of work to go to get, and then you've got like a giant container full of gas just waiting to explode in your backyard.
Like, if I heard anything from Mythbusters, that is, it is surprisingly difficult to make a gas can explode.
It's very difficult because you basically need it to be nearly empty.
You need the perfect fuel to air mixture.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So it's it'll burn for a while, and thankfully it'll burn fairly quickly if it did leak out and get have an ignition source.
We could give Molly a minigun and a giant tank of gasoline and let her go to town on it.
Yeah.
And she's probably, one of those spinning Gatling gun type things.
Ooh.
We can let you go to town on one of these huge farmer irrigation things full of gas, and I bet you'd never get it to blow up.
Well, that sounds like fun. Let's do it.
You'd literally have to hit it, let most of it drain out.
Yeah.
And then hit it again.
Well, I'll let you use incendiary rounds too.
Yeah. There you go. Even
you'll get it to
brings
burn,
its own fuel source.
But you won't get it to
The article is warning that if you see anything suspiciously looking like a giant container of gas in your neighbor's backyard to report it.
Every ruse they can come up with to have probable cause to come onto your property.
How much would you pay for black market gasoline?
See, that's the problem. I mean, the amount of work I go through to go to either a Quick Trip or a Shell are the only two gasolines I trust. So I'm not, I mean...
Yeah, but what if Bill down the street is a friend of yours and he's like, hey,
no way,
I'll sell
man.
you gas for $1 a gallon.
No way, Bill. No way. Because one tank of bad gas going through the little Alexander engine of the Prius. Yeah, but he brought it home, and his spit is in there now.
Contaminated.
And and some dirty 14-year-old kid got up to the top to open the thing, and dirt fell in there, and there's no decent filtration on it. It's not worth. Yeah. Gas in the United States right now. Yesterday, I gassed up for $2.34 a gallon at a Shell station by the airport, and when I was traveling from Wausau, Merrill, Wisconsin to Oshkosh, I was basically commuting to college. I would go to college for 3 or 4 days, and then I'd go home to see girlfriend, wifey, whatever. And gasoline back and forth in 1989 was $2.34 a gallon. 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Why do you need to pay $1? What's wrong with $2.34? We need gas to be at $4 a gallon for oil to be able to be sold in the United States and for people to make money and have a job and an
there's
income.
Also the philosophical angle of sticking it to the man.
Yeah. Yeah, oil companies are terrible.
But we need it.
But yes, your entire life, everything, all your food, all your clothing, all your house supplies, everything completely depends on the transportation that's borne by the easy distribution of gasoline and oil.
Gasoline is shockingly energy dense. A small amount will get you a long way.
Such a small amount. And I'm going to give, Gary Zadzikowski, you're a fuck up, but you're so funny. He's one of the funniest comedians in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Gary, the level of love I have for you and your brain and the way you think and the way you write, he has one of the best jokes ever. It's like, you should have no trouble ever getting high because all you need is a tiny amount of gasoline in a container that used to hold. You don't even need any gasoline. It's just a container that used to hold gas. If you just huff on that, you'll be higher than you can get with any street drug. And yes, you're killing your brain. Yes, you'll die prematurely. You'll probably have a bunch of health problems because of it. But 50 cents worth of gasoline will get you high for your entire lifetime. And that's all you ever have. If you need drugs, that's your answer, gasoline. So it's amazing what we get out of gasoline. And do we have a Tesla story today? No?
A Tesla story?
No, we don't.
I don't think I had one, but
okay.
Why?
So I love Tesla.
Yeah.
But I can't own a Tesla.
Too much? Too expensive?
No. Money's fluid. It's all relative, So, and you can get into a Tesla now for $40,000, $43,000.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Manageable.
It's doable.
It's doable. Especially if you have a revenue source to help pay. Well, a revenue source to help pay for that.
Yeah.
And I don't mean a job. I mean something dedicated to the vehicle itself, where the vehicle is earning money and paying for itself. So it's a doable thing. But it's an impractical thing from the standpoint of I had a show in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, which is an hour and 24 minutes north of Eau Claire.
Long haul, yeah.
I could get to Eau Claire on one charge. But then at the time, and I just found this out 2 days ago, they've actually put a V3 supercharger station in Eau Claire. So the recharge time would have been much less, like 25%, but still an hour. So I'd have to charge up because I'd be at almost zero by the time I got to Eau Claire. I then drive up to Rice Lake and then drive back. But because that's another 2.5 hours round trip, 2 hours and 40 minutes, I have to stop in Eau Claire again to recharge what I've used to get back to Milwaukee. And then when I get back to Milwaukee, it's almost dead again. And this show was back in early December, and it's that classic thing, like 3 days ago it was 50 degrees. 2 days ago it was 50 degrees here. Now today it's 27. That day it had been 50s all week. And then the day I had to go up there and do the show, it was like 18 degrees. That will cut as much as 40% out of the battery life of the Tesla, of the range. So I would have had to get to Madison and charge up, Toma and charge up, Eau Claire and charge up, and then Rice Lake and back to, and now it's midnight. So now I got to stop an hour in Eau Claire, an hour in Toma, an hour in Madison, and an hour to Milwaukee.
Well, it's just a march of progress. The batteries will get better. The
They will.
charging stations
Yes.
will become more common
Sure.
in time.
Yes.
The transition just hurts.
Don't those cars also, you can't you put gas in them as well?
No, the Teslas are all electric.
Yeah, Teslas are all electric.
Really?
There are
So-
hybrids.
So
So
if
the
you
answer-
run out of charge, you're screwed.
You're done. You're
you
screwed.
get in a tow truck.
Yes.
See, I would
So-
only get a hybrid then.
But so here- yeah,
I
right.
want that backup system.
So until there is that infrastructure of a charging station everywhere, and the charging time
Is reasonable.
has to be under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if it's any more than that, and think of that, think of enough power, think of 360 kilowatts
Just like
coming down a cord
how
into
warm
your
my
car.
phone gets when I charge it.
Yeah, on a 1.5 milliamp charger, right? So, you're going to literally have like burn marks in the concrete from the cables when somebody sets a cable down. But so that's where the hybrid comes in. And Toyota's Prius system, the hybrid drive system in the Priuses, and now numerous other, my good friends at CNBC ran a story the other day about how is Prius, are we past Prius? Is it over for Prius and Toyota? They're talking about this massive sales drop in Priuses. Last 2 minutes of the story, they talk about how Prius sales are down 1.8%.
Oh my God.
It's a 4-minute story.
Sell all
And
the stock.
Yes,
Get out,
they
get
go
out.
75% of the way through the story to tell you that it's down 1.8%.
Wow.
And the number one cannibalizer of Prius sales?
Tesla sales.
No. Other Toyota hybrids. Toyota RAV4s, Toyota Highlanders, Toyota Camrys, Toyota Avalons. All these cars that Toyota now makes with this hybrid drive system. So it used to be, if you were the guy on the east side, you had to be like Larry David and be proud of driving your
Yeah.
Prius and sticking your nose up at everybody, driving your weird-shaped, horrible-looking car. Now you can get a Toyota Avalon, 5-passenger luxury sedan that gets 44 miles per gallon in town and 39 on the highway.
That's insane.
It's insane. And it looks like there's no Prius, there's no hybrid that they send out as a base model, except there's the Prius C that's really kind of a base model thing. And that's just to get people into a Prius for under $22,000. But you can get this Avalon. They don't send an Avalon hybrid out unless it's full leather and 20-inch alloy wheels and sunroofs and everything, heated everything. It's a beautiful car. And it gets 44 miles per gallon. That's insane. So I take a Prius up to Rice Lake, which in very cold weather, because it does have a hybrid battery system, the miles per gallon did drop all the way down to 41. So I didn't even lose 10%, where in a Tesla you lose up to 40% because it's only electric.
Yeah.
So as of right now, as Mark just absolutely, we're just at a change right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We need another 10 years for the infrastructure and for the technology to advance enough that we can. And here's the thing, Elon, seriously, buddy, I know you're watching today. You've got to make the trucks, the semis that are going to take over the transportation, the over the road stuff. That battery has to be removable.
Yes.
That truck has to be able to pull up into a truck stop onto a Tesla platform, and the battery has to
fall out into the ground. New one come up.
drops down, new one comes up, truck keeps going because there's team driving. It's guys are on the road 16 hours in a row and 1,500 miles a day. This thing only goes 500 right
There'll
now.
be self-driving trucks too.
That's
There'll be one guy in a
Yeah.
hammock in the back of the truck.
absolutely, absolutely.
You know what would be really cool?
What, Ma?
With,
Do you need a hit of this
we
first?
put missiles on it.
It'll be really cool.
with the electric cars and needing you've got those quick charge batteries for your phones.
Yeah.
If you get a quick charge battery for those, but then have it with a drone drop. So you could my battery's getting low. Call in a drone.
The drone
to come
comes
and, charge your car while you're
telling
still
you.
driving.
Well,
And
the
then it
car-
drives away or the drone goes away. And
There you go.
There
Now
you
that's
go.
forward thinking. The thing
You don't
the
have
thing
to
Car
I
batteries
had,
are big. We got to shrink them if we're going to do that.
so the idea that I was that I think is based on present technology is I can take this iPhone and I can set it on a little thing
and it charges.
Inductive
and it charges.
charging, yeah.
So why don't we have inductive charging through our tires that you just pull up on a platform? There's no plugging in, there's no plug, there's no cable, there's none of
There
that.
you go.
You
It's all
just
good stuff.
you just have induction. But I like the drone drop
I've never
thing.
done
That's
that
amazing.
charging. Is it as fast as regular
yeah.
charging?
On the iPhone, no. As I understand it, on the Samsung phones, faster. to use the Qi charger.
Well, also turbocharging isn't necessarily a good idea for the overall life of your battery.
Might not be.
Might not last as many years.
Sure.
So.
And that's why and that's literally why I still mostly cable charge.
I trickle
Stop
charge
squashing
everything.
my dreams, Mark.
Well,
It's a good
I have
idea.
But no, it's so.
I have an S6. I have like a 5-year-old phone, and it still holds a charge because I only trickle charge it.
Right.
Grandpa.
Yeah, but we're making this change right now. So the Cybertruck was the big announcement a couple of months ago. The Cybertruck, by the time it enters production, they're talking about 1,000-mile range.
Okay.
Which is a doubling of today's range in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 1,000-mile battery, 1,000-mile charge. These are million-mile. The batteries that Tesla has right now is saying they will last 1,000,000 miles.
Sure.
Toyota's batteries last around, Toyota was brilliant. First, they said they'd last 150,000 miles. They totally underpromised. They last about 300,000 miles in normal usage. But if they're being used for taxis or rideshare or anything like that, they're lasting even further, 450, 500,000 miles, which is awesome because they totally said, oh, it's only going to last 150, and people still bought them.
Well, you always lowball your estimates.
Well, if you're smart and if you're GM, you totally
When
tell
Captain
everybody it's
Kirk
the greatest
says,
thing in the
"Fix
world.
the engines, Scotty lowballs it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It can always be.
It's going to take an hour, Captain. Yeah.
I do that in 45 minutes, Scotty.
Yeah. Oh, it can't be done.
Oh, I can do it in 15. I like making them wait.
That's a pretty good Simon Pegg version of Scotty there. That's all right. But that's the thing, is getting the charging times down and getting the battery range better. And that's all coming. There's supposed to be new, there's a new battery, sodium batteries coming that are going to be longer lived.
Nova about 2 or 3 years ago about batteries, and it was fascinating.
Well, and Tesla has bought 3 battery companies in the last year. So they're buying up all the potential new technologies, and they're going to own them all. But I assume true to Tesla's, it's like psychiatry. How someone is now is how they'll tend to continue to be, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
He's released everything. You can build a Tesla right now, and at no cost. He won't charge you anything.
Yeah, but Elon Musk, I like him, but he's also got some really stupid ideas.
For sure. What genius doesn't?
Like he
just doesn't have a capacity to keep his mouth shut.
The Hyperloop.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Sure.
But there's a lot of videos on like YouTube that break down the actual math and the science of it, and it's totally implausible and it's kind of asinine.
As of right now. But we just found out the Big Bang Theory is being thrown out because it's wrong, because they're finding galaxies that are 4 times older than the beginning of the universe.
Well,
so
science
everything we know
changes.
about physics.
That's the thing about science.
Yes, that's the best thing about science is here's my concern with the Hyperloop. Earthquakes.
Yeah, it is in California.
We've got a viewer, Tyler, asking if a Tesla truck could survive in Wisconsin, or would a Wisconsin company trust Tesla trucks?
That's a
With the
great
cold weather,
question.
I don't know.
I've been told because they have fewer moving parts, they're more reliable.
For sure. 100% more reliable.
So it's not going to have as many rust issues.
Tyler, it's a great question, but yeah, you just have to acknowledge that in the wintertime, in cold weather, you're going to lose quite a bit of that range. But so then they've made it so you can buy one that has a 340-mile range. Then there's one with a 500-mile range, and then there's the 1,000-mile range battery. So 1,000 miles is typically a month's worth of driving. Average person, 12,000 miles a year. So let's say in a contractor position, that's a week, 1,000 miles a week. So if you lose 40% of that battery life on a cold week in Wisconsin, that's 2 or 3 days of driving. So if you plug it in every night, you're going to get that range back every day.
Yeah.
So
like your phone.
Yeah, and because it's 2 or 3 days, you've got your guy who's just the dumbest guy on the crew. Every crew has one, just so you know that.
Why are you pointing at me?
If that guy doesn't plug it in, you've still got one more day for somebody to go, hey, who didn't plug in the truck last night? And then you plug that truck in for sure at the end of that day, and then it's all full, ready to go the next day. So I think the truck is going to be the most vigorous and most applicable vehicle for all the weird weather circumstances. It they raised whatever it was, 250,000 reservations in the first 48 hours for the truck. And so I didn't even put the $100 down.
It is kind of ugly.
Well, it's whatever.
I mean, the one that he brought out like a few weeks ago that he broke the window on. That just looks like a big metal box. It's not sexy looking. It's not futuristic looking. It looks like something a 3-year-old would have drawn up.
Here's what I think. I think they came up with the typeface first, and then they designed the truck around the typeface. Because it's just like somebody got really hot about that's so cool looking. Let's make the truck look like that.
So I'm hoping it's just a concept vehicle, and it's going to have a more traditional.
So there's
design.
There's obviously Department of Transportation, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, things that will enter into whether it's going to look that way.
Well, if you want a big,
the
ugly
absence of a
stainless steel
bumper.
car,
The absence of a bumper that doesn't, slice people in half as that front right now. It's literally right about the shoulder. So it's like a decapitation front. It's really kind of cool. But Cybertruck as murder weapon, but it probably won't. But his whole point was, one of the coolest things about the presentation was they took the badging off of a Toyota Tundra, a GMC, and a Ford F-150 and had them lined up. And he said, go ahead, try to figure out which truck is which, because they all look so much the same.
Yeah.
His edict to the designers was, it can't look like that. It's got to do what that does, but not look like that.
One of my favorite cars is the Chrysler 300. It doesn't look like other cars.
Really?
But it's a beautiful car.
I got to send you a picture that I have. It's a total...
Is it you naked on a Chrysler?
Yes.
300?
Oh. Thank you for that image. Yep. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Wow. I have a picture of a Chrysler 300 in front of a Rolls Royce.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rolls Royce looks like it's the shadow of the Chrysler 300.
Mm-hmm.
The Chrysler 300's design is a direct ripoff of that Rolls Royce.
Yes.
But
it's beautiful and it doesn't look like other cars.
See,
There's
there you
plenty
go.
of things you can do.
This is you're proving the point I was about to make, and that is it's all subjective.
Yeah.
Because you're in the minority in the car communities of the world.
Yeah,
the
I'm not a big
Chrysler
car
300 is considered to be one of the most hideous designs. And
it's not like a PT Cruiser or something.
The fact that it's held on as long as it has just infuriates people in the design world, because it's like, it was horrible to begin with, and every update has made it more horrible.
I love it.
And so the only person that ever made it cool was Walter White. In season 6 of Breaking Bad, when he pulls into the driveway in the Chrysler 300 SRT8 and revs the engine, whatever. But everybody was like, yeah, that'll break down before season 7.
Well, he also had like an Aztec or whatever. And like
he was an Aztec owner, yes.
3.
But when the mechanic fixed up the Aztec after his last session of beating it up because he was going through his mental changes, he gave it the praise that it deserves. It's really quite an impressive and remarkable vehicle. It took massive risks. It's your ugly, redheaded stepchild kind of car. Nobody likes it, but it does what it was intended to do so well, you forgive its ugliness. The Chrysler 300 is a hideous piece of garbage that nobody likes and has no redeeming qualities.
Right. Up next on Car Talk, we have...
Well, so do you guys want to wrap this?
We're going to wrap this session.
Up, or do you
No, I want one more story. Is that okay?
Sure, go and pick one off the list.
It's got to be the toothpaste story.
We got a bonus episode too.
Yeah. Well, I want to end on this, and then
this is a high note.
Okay.
Because if you can't get back to
do you want to open the
senses
article?
senses of pornography. Well, I'm here. So my connection. No, I don't have a
Control
connection
click.
to it.
Yeah.
I don't have a connection to it. What I have,
you don't have a personal.
What I have a connection to is Reddit, and I read this. TIFU on Reddit of some guy getting into. Is it it's not Tinder? What's the other?
Grindr?
No. What's the other? It's even more just hook up. Snapchat, where you send pics that disappear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So some guy met this girl on Tinder, and then they started Snapchatting back and forth, and she asked him to send a pic with the toothpaste
On his ding dong.
Yes. And
Why?
and he did it.
Because he's a big dumb man. Okay,
and then
hot girl told me to do something.
and
I'm
then
gonna
she
do it.
ghosted him, which is awesome because way to
Oh
go,
my God,
moron.
he did it.
Yeah, but all the people on Reddit, came up with the way better. Just set the tube on there. She didn't say squeeze out a bunch of crest on top of your schlong.
You wasted good toothpaste.
You had great opportunity to make it funny and but instead, and the guy in his effing up goes on to say, well, it was on there.
I'm here.
So then I had
here.
to, and so apparently he
pleased himself.
He brought himself to fruition
With
with toothpaste and wound up in the emergency room because of the burning sensation, because there's bleach and people don't understand all the horrible chemicals that are in their toothpaste.
Peppermint,
hydrogen
and,
peroxide.
There's literally aggregate in there.
Yes, and on top of everything else.
It's got stuff
your
in there
skin,
to scrub
you could not come up with a better exfoliant than your average toothpaste,
right,
ladies.
abrasive,
But
minty, burny.
But earlier you were
stuff.
talking about how it's there's some tightening effect with it, right?
So, no. But in this article, there's stories of guys using this as lube and getting horrible burns and scabs. And the one guy said for like a full week.
Oh, yeah. Because you've got all those chemicals on top of microabrasions where the chemicals then get in and destroy your skin.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not that hard. We're not very durable elements or items.
Why would anyone think that this is a good idea to use this? I don't have any lube. Let's just use toothpaste. No. So it's also saying that women have used it and gotten terrible, damage done. Saying that it can.
There's a subhead here. Now, granted, everybody, this is from the Irish Sun. It's not even the British Sun. It's really just a bunch of dumb leprechauns over there writing about this. But one of the subheads is not a cure.
I don't remember
Who thought it was a cure for anything? That's awesome.
What does it say a cure for?
It's not the first time people have been warned not to put toothpaste near their genitals. Last year, it emerged men had been putting toothpaste on their todgers to help them last longer in bed.
Yeah.
If you're bringing pain into the mix, yeah, I see how that could work.
Ow!
Ow!
Ow! Yeah, I mean, that's just increasing it by 30% right there.
The article goes on to say that some people...
Fellas, just let her tug on your balls.
The myth was that it'll help tighten for women.
Yeah.
They're like, no.
So
don't
ladies,
do this.
Keep using the preparation H. It works. It's much more efficient for shrinking the swelling of various tissues. That's the acceptable one.
Well,
don't go to toothpaste. It's really not.
There's a lot
well.
of toothpaste in the toothpaste aisle. Are there perhaps some toothpaste that we could use that aren't teeth whitening?
Sensodyne. I think that's the answer right there. Is Sensodyne non-abrasive? Yes.
Sounds clinical.
Yeah.
This article warning against this is giving Mark ideas.
There we go. Here it is. Some toothpaste contains small particles that could also cause powerful microabrasions on the vaginal walls. Thank you very much, Irish Sun, for being clinical. Can I read the quote? Because it's clinical,
Sure.
right? This is from Vanessa McKay, consultant gynecologist and spokesperson for the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, said, "It's a myth that toothpaste will tighten the vagina. Putting toothpaste into the vagina or on the vulva would not only be uncomfortable, but it would also cause serious damage and disrupt the natural flora of the vagina, leading to the potential for infections like bacterial vaginosis and thrush."
I just don't.
So if you like the thrush, ladies,
Natural flora.
Go for it. Toothpaste.
toothpaste it up. Get that crest whitening toothpaste in there, and
Just some people's kids.
yeah.
Who?
That's right.
Ever. Jeez.
That's awesome.
Of all the things that I've ever considered using, toothpaste is not on that list.
No, I saw this story and I was like, what?
And of course,
you're in
can't
the
be
bathroom.
real.
There's soaps, there's
Can't be a
lotions,
thing.
there's shampoos, there's tons of things.
and of course, in the related stories and more on health is the story about average penis sizes from around the world. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen,
Those
hey,
stories are always sponsored by penis enlargement pills. Have you noticed?
this one's actually a Sun story, so thankfully they're not doing that. But hey, I've been Brendan O'Day, and that's Mark over there. That's Molly back there, and this has been Off the Rails.
Hold on, I gotta read a thing before you push the ejection seat button.
You're stepping on him.
And now Mark is going to read a thing about the show.
We are on Twitter at OffTheRailsTM, Facebook.com/OffTheRailsTM, Instagram at OffTheRailsTM, our website, OffTheRailsTM.com. Email us, maybe you want to be on the show, or you see a goofy article you want us to talk about, OffTheRailsTM@gmail.com. This podcast is available on SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and all your favorite podcast hosting sites.
And after 2 seasons, he has not memorized that yet.
I know, right?
This is a security blanket right here.
That is so long, though. He's a hell of a guy. She's a hell of a gal. I don't know what the hell I am, but I'm here today. Stick around for the bonus episode. You can. Is that through Patreon?
It's
We
free
put the
audio,
audio
but
out
if you
on
want the
Friday.
video, it's a Patreon perk.
That's nice. Come on around, guys. We'll see you again.
Thanks for tuning in, universe.